All right, on the bench, out of a 2002 Dodge Ram van with a 5.9, we have the 46 RE rear-wheel drive 4-speed trans. Okay, 263,000 miles on the clock, and the reason why I'm filming this teardown is because I was very excited when this van pulled up. All right, this actually is Scooby-Doo's Mystery Machine van, which you'll see a quick shot of it before we start the teardown. So, I don't know about you guys, but I was up Saturday morning, 8 o'clock, in the den, waiting for that to come on TV, maybe 8, 9 o'clock, whatever time it came on, but I didn't want to miss it when I knew it was coming on. So, hey, we got the van here now, was towed in, does not move, so we're going to tear it down and see if we can figure out what's going on. Now, I can tell you, I don't know how long ago it was, but this transmission was done. You can see the bell housing is painted blue. There is a possible rebuilt converter in there. It is painted as well. I don't know if they just painted the old one or if they put a rebuilt in. I don't see any stickers or markings on it. Fluid stinks pretty bad. It was full. Let's see, do we have any codes? We have no codes, but we're gonna open this up and see what we find. The pan wasn't really even that bad, even that dirty. I'm thinking, you know, I thought it was maybe a pump or something. It could be a converter problem because it had nothing. It had absolutely nothing. No forward, no reverse, no engagements, nothing. So we're gonna tear down the Mystery Machine van transmission and see what's going on. And hopefully when it goes back in the car, we drive it, the mystery will be solved and they'll be able to get on and with their parties and whatever they use it for. But I was pretty excited when I see it pull up on the flatbed. I said, hey, look at this, we got the Mystery Machine here. So we're gonna tear it down, we're gonna see what we find, and then we're gonna get my parts on order tomorrow. It'll be my, probably my weekend gig. So let me get a little closer and we'll get started. Alright, so first thing we're going to do, I got the rear seal knocked out of this thing already. I took some of the pan bolts down to drain it. Let's get this neutral switch out. And speaking of neutral, when you check the fluid in these transmissions, in these RE transmissions, you have to have it neutral. Don't check it in park. All right, you'll get your true reading in neutral. Okay, here is the neutral safety switch, held in with a couple of Torque 25 bolts. Okay, now we're going to take this plate off on top again with the Torque 25 bolts. These were easy enough to loosen because, once again, this transmission was done. Okay. Gasket. All right, now also we're going to get the output speed sensor out. All right, there's your output speed sensor. Got some crap on the sensor. We'll see how bad this is when we open it. All right. Now I want to get these pump bolts out. Okay. Some of these, because this is going to be turned over, so I want to get some of these bolts out here on the top. That's 716. Okay. This one was loose, just like that. Let me get this side out. Okay. so what we're gonna do now is we're gonna flip it over, take the pan down, filter, get the valve body out. Let me just get my other socket I know I'm gonna need. Okay. Okay. Fluid's pretty black. Just got 2 bolts in here. Again, I just didn't want to drain it. Doesn't make too much of a mess. All right, again, pan not too bad, but fluid smells pretty bad. Okay, filter. All right, so what I'm gonna do now is I wanna take the clip out of the linkage rod, so that'll stay in, it'll separate from the valve body, because it's easier to install, and then I hook it up later. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get a long, thin screwdriver, and where is my magnet? I meant to have that ready and I forgot to get it. All right, so I'm gonna take the clip out, because when I put it back together, I put the linkage rod in, and then I put the valve on, and then I put the clip back in. So we're gonna put the magnet onto the clip, see if we can get this thing out. Well, there it is, right there. Yeah, not that, little bit of a pain to go back in, but it's doable. All right, now let's get the valve body out. 7/16. Okay. Okay. Push the rod out. Okay, here's the valve body. So this internal harness, this is cracked here. Let me just bring this down a little bit. So I'm going to change the whole internal harness, because I wouldn't use that back. All right, so this is cracked here. And of course the sensors, governor solenoid and transducer, this is like 2000 and up style. This governor solenoid, they are all the same. Okay, and we're gonna get this because this is cracked. So we're gonna also take this plate off, see if that 3/4 accumulator spring is cracked. But let's get this unit apart first. Okay, here is the rod here. Set that aside. All right, accumulator. All right, now we're going to loosen the adjustment and take the band struts out. And we're going to move the band over to an area where we can just kind of pry everything out. So that, I think, was like 3/4. Would have had that socket out. It's been real busy here, folks. Struts out. take the adjustment out too. Okay, here's the adjustment for that. Let me bring this up a little bit. Sorry about that. Okay. Just in case you missed it before, here is the linkage rod that sits in here that I disconnected. All right, so we're going to take this band and move it. Downward. Okay, like that, so it'll pass through. Now, I'm going to take a little pry on between the direct drum and the shell. All right, I'm going to take a little pry right here. Go. Okay. Here is the pump. Let me bring it down a little bit again so you guys can see. Okay. All right, so the pump. Here is the band, which we'll pull out. I'm going to replace that. Pull it into our drum. Those clutches are burnt. Okay, here is a washer that goes on this side here, and then the spacer here. Okay. Okay. All right, now we got to get a snap ring out. So we need our pliers here. Here's the snap ring. Got the eyelids on it. All right. Here's the planet. This looks okay. We have washer and another washer. Get the shell. Rear planet. Okay, have another washer here. This is wider. And then this one has like splines in it. All right, now we got to take the drum out. That's got to get another snap ring out, a larger snap ring, so that will need our snap ring pliers. Okay, so I'm going to reach in. There we go. Here is that snap ring. And there was also a fiber washer, so we're just going to pull this out. Pull this drum out. Okay. Here is a washer with 2 tabs on it. And now we're going to take the sprag out. Okay. Here is the low sprag. All right, so see if we can get let's get the band out. Alright. So the band doesn't look too bad, it's a little worn, but always gets changed. And the band strut, which I want to show you here. Okay, so the band strut, we got some flat edges and some round edges, and the round edges is what hooks up to the band like that, and the other side, you know, to the actuator to apply the band. So the round side of the strut. Used to do it even 4-wheel drive. This thing's got a Joe tail on it. All right, so let's turn this. Okay, we got these bolts to get out here. Last 3, I'm sorry. And then we can slide the tail off. So those again are 7/16. And where did I do with that socket? There it is. Tight. All right, no problem. I'll just get another socket. We'll break them loose. All right, so this should separate. Got it. Put this aside for now. I'm gonna get rid of some of this oil. Four-wheel drive tail is tight. All right. Here's a piston. Here is a spacer that is selective. That spacer is selective. Alright, this is not coming out so easy, this shaft. Extension housing gasket. Alright, so let's take this little wire clip out. I'm going to get these frictions out. These are bad and steels as well. I'm going to get the top plate. I got a couple of snap rings. So let's get the first snap ring out, which is wavy. Okay, wavy snap ring, and then the second one is going to be a flat snap ring. So the flat one will go on first, then the wavy, and then the bottom plates. All right, we have bearing here. And let's see if we can life be a lot easier if I can get that shaft out here. You know something, I have a feeling this thing is no good. All right, so I'm going to spread this snap ring back here and pull this setup out. empty tail. Now, I'm gonna get this. This is the heavy spring that's behind this, and we got to get this snap ring out. So, let me work on that. We'll see if this thing is good or bad, if it just may be stuck in here. But it didn't move, you know, I mean, the forward clutches are bad, fine, no forward, but reverse, I don't really see anything why this wouldn't move backwards. So, let me see if I can get this thing moving or try to get this snap ring out somehow. Give me a few and I'll be back. All right, well, it came out. All I did, honestly, this thing was here, and I gave it some, you know, shots, spinning it, and then it would start getting loose, and I gave it a yank, and it pulled right out. Okay. All right, so what I want to do now is I'm going to put you guys back on hold, and I'm going to take this over to the press. I'm going to press this down to get this snap ring out, and we'll take a look at this section. All right, so let me just get my screwdriver ready. All right, so that's out, and let me get this apart, and then we can continue looking at the pump, and we want to take the servos out of the case, and the back part of the case, the ply plate for the overdrive. Be right back. Okay. All right, so I got the snap ring out. This is the overdrive direct snap ring. Now, regardless if this is in perfect shape, good, it gets thrown out, and I change it. I have a brand new one in the bag I keep in stock, and it's going to get it because these are very common to break. So whether it's good or bad, it goes out. And I get another one. Okay, take this up. These are the overdrive direct clutches. All right, they're usually pretty good, you know, not too bad, but I got my banner kit coming, so I'm going to change them. Okay, we have a bearing. It's on top like that. Here is the overdrive planet. Okay, this has splines, and we're going to take the sprig out, the OD sprig. Okay, put this down. There's also a bearing here. Okay, so you notice this has splines. So this sits like this. Let me just take the sprig out so nothing falls apart. And incidentally, if you happen to by chance put this sprig in wrong, you get a 3/4 flare. So we got splines here, and we got splines here. All right, so that's what you have to do. I made a tool. I took one of these shafts and cut it, and you got to line them up. Just put it together. You got to line up the spline so when you go to install the back onto the transmission, it'll drop right in. Okay, bearing. All right, so you take a section. So we'll just leave this like this and wash this up. All right, I'm going to take a look at the pump. Here is your vent. Don't forget, fill it neutral. Sometimes you put it in park, you may get fluid coming out the vent. And again, the vent is in the front, so it may look like it's leaking out of the front when it's actually just coming out of the vent. All right, so we have a fiber washer here that is selective. It's the same size as the one, you know, in diameter as the one on the forward drum or the input drum. Now, this is much thicker than that one, than the one which I'll show you. And you got to be careful that you don't swap them, because if you do, you're going to have a forward clutch running around the outside of a hub making a zzz type noise. So let's get this one out. And like I said, they'll both fit, but you got to just watch. Okay, you see the difference in thickness. So this one can fit on here, that can fit on there, so just be very careful, keep it separate. So what I do is when I take this off, I take my pump rings off, because they're going to be changed. and I keep these items together so it goes correctly. Okay, rings in here, good, good. All right, so let's get these bolts out. I might need, let me just get a 1/2 inch chrome for that. So some of those are a little tight. Okay. Oh, it actually looks good. Let's take a look at the body and gears. This thing did not move at all. I mean, I'm thinking blown converter, but I said the forward clutches are shot, but it shouldn't cause no reverse. But we had no movement at all. Yeah, this looks good. I'm gonna put a new bushing in it. Let's take a look at the forward clutch drum. So I'm gonna take this off, and I'm gonna take this ring off. Okay. This. Okay. So this will keep together. These clutches are totally fried. I think it steels as well. Nothing, you know, the bottom plate is, top plate is just make so they're flat, but we need clutches and steels for the forward. Very bad. Okay, now we're going to take the snap ring out that holds the return spring down. There's this plastic spacer in here. Get that very wavy snap ring out. Okay, so that's what that looks like. It's extremely wavy. The one on the direct drum is wavy too, but not like that. So here's the plastic spacer. Okay, here is the return spring. Here is the forward piston. This will come out. And this. And okay, let's get the direct drum over here. I'm going to get a bushing for the direct drum. I always change. Alright, these clutches burned out too. Burned out too. I don't know if they ran it low on oil, because we did find a leak in one of the cooler lines in the front, but I got to get steels for this as well. I got a banner kit coming. I probably should have just ordered a master kit, because I need these steels, forward steels, the overdrive steels. The only ones I don't need are the overdrive direct. Alright, don't forget, this is the drum. If you're buying an overhaul kit, Trans-Tech still puts both inner seals in the kit, and the one you don't want to use that is much smaller. You know, you can see the difference between the two. One of them is much thicker than the other one, and what used to happen is you would have no third gear when cold, and then when it hot you would have third gear. That was always that inner seal problem, so they made a thicker seal. So that problem doesn't happen, and I'm talking, this is, you know, dealing with this problem back in the 90s. Late 80s and 90s. Okay, so what I want to do now is get organized here. We're going to bring the case forward. We're going to take the components of the case out, the reverse piston, intermediate piston back here, that aluminum plate, and we'll take another look at the valve body to see if that spring is broken, and finish it up. All right, so give me a little time here just to get organized, and I'll be back in a few. All right, we're going to take this ply out for the OD piston. There's a gasket under here. That was 3/8 there. Okay. Transect gasket, so you can see definitely was overhauled. All right, this looks good. You know, a lot of times, with the gasket, a lot of times in here, the drum will score this up real bad, but this is nice and smooth. Okay. All right, so next thing we're gonna do, we're gonna take out the two servos here. Let's see if we can get this snap ring out. Okay. Spring seat, spring, and piston. All right, these things sometimes tend to crack, but you know, everything looks okay. When it goes back to, I put it back together, I'm gonna, of course, air check this thing real close. Okay, so this, we actually put it here. Now we're gonna get the intermediate out. So what I gotta do there is I gotta press that piston down to get that snap ring out. So what I do is I stick the screwdriver in here, get a little bit on an angle, and see if we can get that snap ring out. Okay. And then this thing is going to pop up, so we just got to be careful. Okay. Okay. There's the top, spring, and we got to get the piston. Okay, it's got some sealer rings on here. This middle ring I leave, I just changed the smaller ring. Okay, so this looks like, I'm gonna put this back in, I get it to the snap ring groove line, and then I stick my screwdriver in there and pry it down and put the snap ring in. Okay, so the next thing we're gonna do here, we're gonna take the actuator out for the reverse band. So for that, we gotta kind of just give it a tap here. Okay, there's O-rings on this that change. You change, all right. So this, if these get hard, flat, or break, it'll leak. Okay. Here's the actuator. Here's the second half that runs the strut, and then this holds the band in place with the strut down here for the other part of the band. Okay. Here. So this case is stripped. Valve on the back. Okay. Now we're going to take this plate off and see if the, I'll bring the camera down, if the accumulator spring is broken. Very common problem to find them broken. Okay, so we're going to take this plate off. All right, where is my 25? Got it. Cover, and the spring is broken. Look at that. Here's the piston. So I'm going to get a new, I probably have one, and I'm going to get another spring. Again, very common problem to find broken. And that is it for the mystery machine. All right, so, you know, we had a no move condition. No engagement, no nothing. no codes, but we did find, you know, the unit basically burnt out. The fluid does smell like it's burnt, but I'm going with a blown converter because I really didn't see any reason why this shouldn't move. Now let's take a look. All right, I'm looking at the springs on the pressure regulator valve, and they don't look like compressed, like the valve is stuck open. So I'm not going to say it's a stuck pressure valve. So the only conclusion I can come up with to solve this mystery is a blown converter. All right, so once again, this mystery machine is a 2002 Dodge Ram van with a 5.9, 263,000 miles, towed in, no move condition. So I got I gotta get my list together to get everything for tomorrow so I can build this over the weekend and then put it back in. We also gotta fix the leak in the front with the lines. Okay, I think this thing may have ran out of fluid because like all the steels are bad and it got very hot. So I'll have something to do over the weekend, but nice unit to work on, not bad, you know, RE series trans. And that is it for this. So I thank you guys for watching. Have a great day, and we'll see you next one.